blockchain for art and creativity.
Good morning. So I am Chezka Gonzales. I am the founding vice president of Blockchain Council of the Philippines. And together with me are this amazing gentleman today for Blockchain for Art and Creativity. Mr. Paul Soliman, the Director for Education, and Mr. Paul Llamanzares for the Director of Youth and Academe. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. So I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell the world what you're doing in this industry and in the NFT world and in the blockchain world, or just your industry. Paul?
Yeah, hi, I'm Paul Soliman. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bayanichain. So one of the blockchain company here in the Philippines with a government in our portfolio, and also one of the largest e-wallet here in the Philippines. We serve to to develop their blockchain wallet.
Brian?
All right. So on a much more commercial level, I was part of the team that co-founded Unit 256. So we worked a lot with national artists, the art community, art collectors, to really promote blockchain Web3 in the art space. So I guess that's kind of where I come into this panel on creatives, right?
Okay. In your own words, first, how can an average person understand what an NFT is? And what sample do you usually give to them?
Sure. Yeah, so NFT is a non-fungible token. So if I'm gonna explain it to an average person, it's I explain it like a diploma. So if you have a diploma from your school that is unique, it can never be repeated. So non-fungible token is super unique, with each other, meaning if you have a diploma, as I mentioned, it is in the blockchain. So there will not be copy number 2 of diploma inside the blockchain, because you only graduated once, right? So that's how a non-fungible token do. And every record is scattered all around the world, that says that Paul Soliman graduated at this time, at this school, etc. And all of the nodes in the world have a copy of your diploma.
Nice explanation. I did not think of that, but that was a nice explanation. How about you, Brian? How do you explain to an average person?
Well, I guess that actually summarizes basically everything about an NFT, but I think more on the functional use case of NFTs. It's good to use the diploma example because authenticity is such an important factor when it comes to the functional use cases of Web3 or blockchain technology. And using a diploma is a great example because you don't want to be going around with a fake degree, right? So same thing with an NFT. NFTs would allow you to be able to track the authenticity and the historical transfers of where that NFT has been, where did it originate from, etc. So there's actually a very strong use for it in, for example, government, where transparency and accountability are super important, or in financial transactions where it really needs to be peer-to-peer, right? And you need to be 100% sure that what you're getting is authentic. So, yeah.
So, do you think today, Paul, NFTs are still valuable? Because there are a lot of, things that happened for the past 2 years. Some are scams, some are good. And I just wanted to know, is it still valuable at this time? And what do you think? Is it still something that we need to purchase?
Right. So we know NFT as profile pictures, and what happened in 2021. If you're familiar with the Board 8 Yacht Club, this Azuki, this, Crypto Kitties, Crypto Punks, etc. And when they launch their project, you can just purchase them at a very minimal cost. Now, it times 1,000, it times 2,000 in prices already. That was the narrative around, 2020 to 2021 to 2022 bull run, right? That all of these projects, especially let's say Board 8 Yacht Club in the 2020s, we saw that a specific picture can be times 1,000 in value, right? Thus is still valuable at this time, right? Well, we saw an article that, NFT in the world doesn't have value anymore. It's like, deep 99% of its value, right? And it scraped that. But now we're seeing in the space, especially in the Web3 degen space, that, this legendary NFTs that was purchased, I mean, since 2017, it's still valuable in nature because the people and the community behind it still recognize that if I have a Bored Ape, I can have an exclusive access to, let's say, a restaurant. I can have an exclusive access to, a club. And for gaming purposes, if you have a gaming NFT before, you can still bet. You can still go to this gaming hubs and exclusively. If you don't have that NFT, then you can't go there. So in a way, we're seeing NFT now as more of like, a digital equivalence to a digital physical asset, and being a digital asset that is verified on chain. So meaning, even though the word NFT maybe in the next 5 to 10 years is gonna be normal, or it's gonna be gone, the fact that you have Bored 8 Yacht Club will never be erased. So at the end of the day, it will continue. Our guess is maybe in the next maybe 5 years, NFT is normal already as an equivalent of a real world asset.
Well, just to add to that, because there is for the Bored Ape, there's such a restaurant called Bored and Hungry, and so this restaurant is an equivalent of a profile picture that they call it, but it actually is in the Web 2 world. So basically, it's still a real world asset. You can still use it. So I think for me, it's still valuable. So how about you, Brian? In the creative industry, could you share about the growth of the creative industry in the Philippines and maybe connect it to how you do NFTs as well?
Okay. The creative industry in the Philippines is one of our larger industries, though. I mean, you yourself are part of the creative industry. The thing with the creative industry, especially here in the Philippines, is it's one of the few industries where we're actually leading. We're one of the countries people look to when we're talking about creatives. And the thing is, we're looking at that in two different sides, especially when it comes to technology. One is blockchain in the NFT space. The Philippines, surprisingly, in terms of blockchain technology, was the hub of NFTs in the world at one point. And a lot of that had to do with the play to earn ecosystems that were built. But beyond that, there was just a general interest in the creatives and getting into the NFT space. So there's that. But we also have to look at the movement of AI in the creative space, because especially for Filipinos who make a living off of creating art for larger international firms, AI is becoming somewhat of a threat, either a threat or a tool which is used. So a combination between where we are in terms of AI and where we are in terms of Web3 will definitely have a lasting effect on the growth of the creative industry. But regardless of how you view either technology, what we've seen across the board is that there's continued growth in creatives. So it becomes a question of whether or not we're able to adapt to the creative technologies and tools that are available. And that's why this is so important, because events like this, where we can touch base and talk about best practices and what's happening in the industry, is important for everyone else to know, so that they can take a step in that direction and prepare for what many call the next revolution.
Another question is for Brian. does the government have a project for like for the creatives? Do they like give blockchain 101s, or how do they earn from the blockchain, or let us know?
Well, from what I know, Paul would be a better person to answer what government is doing in terms of like its movement in terms of blockchain. But what I can say from my end is that there, the Philippines actually has one of the more forward-thinking, I guess, digital economies, so to speak. We were the first to have a VASP of virtual assets and securities permit because we wanted to test the waters. BSP now has an interesting sandbox wherein people who have emerging technologies in fintech and blockchain, etc., can enter this sandbox and be monitored by the BSP so that the BSP knows how to create regulations moving forward. It's a way in which government can give you legitimacy without hindering your ability to grow as a new cutting edge technology. And that's the right way you want to go in terms of developing industry. And you can find that here. That's not present in a lot of other countries.
Okay. Do you know anything about what the government does for the creative industry at least?
Yeah. So I was invited in the Senate for like passing of the bill Tatak Pinoy. So Tatak Pinoy is a bill that promotes original Filipino creation, and I was asked about how blockchain NFT can enhance and protect it. So with like initiative like that from Senator Sani Angara, we educated that still biggest problem here in the Philippines are the counterfeiting and stealing of like your graphics design, like your IP itself, because Filipino doesn't know how to register their trademark, etc. So there's a need for education about that. So that's why we're creating my company Lekha. You can just create your own certificate of authenticity by just uploading your certificate of your art there. You will be creating a certificate of authenticity on chain. So everything there would be immutable, and yeah, and the government is really looking for those kind of partnership currently.
Thank you. Brian, as we anticipate the integration of AI in the creative industries, overall, what will be the impact of AI and creativity and in the creative industry?
Well, a lot of people are saying that AI's presence in the creative industry democratizes creatives because it becomes a lot easier for people who don't have a creative's background to get into the practice and to create, whether it's to create content, whether it's to create art, whether it's to create music. But then we run into the problem of intellectual property rights. Because in order for these algorithms to create, they have to draw from something. So the human element will never go missing, at least at the current level that we're at. Because even if you were to create using AI technology, you would still need human intervention to be able to make sure that you're not violating any copyrights, that it is original, and there still has to be a vision. You still have to be the one to input the code and want to create something. So to an extent, it's still there. But what's worrying is the enforcement of intellectual property rights. The Writers Guild of America went on strike in 2023 because of the fear of what AI might do to their industry. There's a lot of people in the music industry who have been complaining about copyright violations. Even for us, because on a personal level, FPJ, we own all of FPJ's films, all the rights to it. So any reproduction of FPJ's image or persona would be considered a violation of intellectual property rights. However, the technology now exists to be able to copy his likeness, to copy his voice. And those are things that we have to make sure are protected under our intellectual property rights.
When you think about it, it's kind of scary because you can be cloned anytime in an AI video, right?
Absolutely. That's why this whole debate about deep fakes and how it may affect even things like politics moving forward is really important. And that's why when I was talking to some business people, they were saying that the marriage between AI technology and blockchain transparency might be the solution towards many of the creative industry problems. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that comes out to look like.
And I really hope you can protect the FPJ brand because because that's your like treasure.
We keep filing intellectual property rights. So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, for you, Paul, for NFT as real world assets, I really love this topic. So, transitioning from digital to tangible, how do NFTs manifest as real world assets and influence traditional markets?
Right. So the fourth industrial revolution will be cyber and physical, with the ongoing adoption of AI, adoption of digital asset in general. We're seeing that for us to be able to catch up, we need all this real world asset like land titles, like maybe gaming asset like buildings, like your car registration, etc. should be in a form of NFT, should be tokenized on chain. So the analogy, like when Brian is discussing about the merge between AI and blockchain, how I explain it is, if two AIs are transacting already with each other, then there's no way that fiat currency can handle that because of its speed. So there are some sort of like a balancing ledger that AI need to have for it to be able to transact with each other, and it will be using tokens. Maybe it's a form of NFT, it's a form of crypto, and with in gaming as well, it will be. I'm 100% sure that it will be impacted by that real world asset transition, since it's really fast to transact. If you're into blockchain, we're talking about every tokens that they invented with, right? Even Solana, even Bitcoin, etc. And the blockchain is going faster and faster. We're not anymore in 2013, 2015 that before you can receive Bitcoin, it's super slow because of the blocks, right? But now there are alternatives. So that's why, if, for example, if I'm gonna buy a land in, let's say, Argentina or here in the Philippines, I would rather buy it using a smart contract, because at the end of the day, it's super transparent. Then the faster that I paid already, the title will be transferred to me, right? So that's number one use case. Number two of real world asset can be art, right? For example, you're shipping a antique from China to here. So if you don't have a specific ledger for you to be able to monitor that, then you're gonna be having a hard time to really verify if the art is really authentic and not, right? And by paying in digital currency, it's gonna be faster for you to move money, right, of this specific art. And at the end of the day, you see also where this art is coming from and where it goes. So technically, if the artist, for example, of that specific painting, or let's say, for example, in the case of Brian, FPJ, whatever will happen, it's they can still trace whoever has the art, whoever has the film, for example, and can still earn royalty, right? So imagine a physical asset is moving. It can be, your Lamborghini, it can be, your maybe house, etc. And you can still track who has it.
I can't wait for the day that we are all using this as an authenticity card, because actually at the moment we're doing it with my other businesses. So for example, there's a car 1:1, and we make an NFT as an authenticity card, and then a gown, and then an authenticity card as well. But that's in an NFT as a blockchain, in the blockchain. And I think the explanation before was usually we buy NFTs, and then that's just a profile picture for them, and then we turn it into a Web 2, another real world asset. But for me, what I do so that people would understand is I put real world asset and then put it with an authenticity card as an NFT, just for them to understand what that is. And I think that's really important in here for, and even the bags, maybe all of the bags, all of our shoes and stuff, maybe in the future we'll be doing authenticity like that.
Well, definitely blockchain technology for two things. Definitely for the smart contracts is such a big plus for both business and government. Imagine one of the problems you have with government transactions is how do you monitor all the tax revenue, etc. With smart contracts, for example, for land titles, etc. If I transfer, let's say I transfer land over to Paul, immediately, if it's in the smart contract, government should be able to get its revenue right away. We don't have to wait anymore, like how many months to, baka, we'll file later, or like, I'll hold on to the asset muna, transfer the title to me later. Those things won't work anymore with a smart contract in place. That's one. Two is identification. So one of the stronger thrusts of government is the national ID that we currently have. And we have our systems in place for authenticity. But to add another layer, blockchain technology could help. Because definitely, if you're Brian and you have your ID on the blockchain, that's not going to anyone else, for sure. And that's something that government can leverage, not just for like the national ID, but for all kinds of government IDs that are in place.
Okay, so additional question is, how do you tell people? Because usually, even if you're already in the, you know already about crypto, about blockchain for how many years, some people still get scammed. So, what can you tell them to be more careful, cautious, or how do you do it?
Yeah. So for every project, so there are millions of project in the Web3 world that is, available for you to invest. It's open. The way I I explain it is if, if let's say VC investment, gaming investment, or even the industry is in the river, the Web3 world is in the ocean. It's really huge because, a local company can create a project and can get an investor from all over the world through tokens, right? Because this is the meta of why, in a way, Web3 was created in general, the community, the space, etc. There are gonna be scams there, right? Meaning there are gonna be bad actors. In every technology revolution, there's always good and bad actors, even from agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago. So, so what will advise is really like, if you're investing into something, is you're like investing into a startup company, right? Let's say, for example, one good project is, again, I'm gonna be using Bored Ape. So why would you want to spend 5 million peso, all right, in one profile picture? Because the founders, the founders, you know that there's a company behind it, etc., and it's legit, right? Versus a project that they don't have founders, they don't have faces, right? But they're promising you X amount of money for a return. Of course, we're not like, ignorant anymore in terms of like, investment, right? So we always do your own research. We always say that, DYOR in the space. Even with Bitcoin, what we're seeing in Ethereum, the ETFs, etc., are there. You just don't go there to invest your savings, your 90% of your money, right? Because at the end of the day, the space is still volatile. It's not like, investing to bonds, etc. There is a big risk that you will lose your money tomorrow. In fact, there's no one can guess the price of Bitcoin. What will be have the price of Bitcoin in the next 3 to 6 months? We will never know, right? Because still the sentiments, the price action are still based on speculation, right? But one thing that I can assure everyone that, since let's say Bitcoin in general is decentralized and even government cannot control it, so at the end of the day, the asset will be still yours forever. It's not gonna be controlled by anyone unless Satoshi just, come up, the founder, right, and get every Bitcoin that we have. But he still cannot do that because if the Bitcoin is transferred to your wallet already, then that's yours. No one can really get it. So yeah, exercise is extreme caution. Do your own research. Crypto in general, NFTs, blockchain investment in general, still high risk, high reward. Kind of like asset. It's a new asset class, and of course, if you as blockchain council, we're promoting also that if you're gonna invest into something, you go to the to this exchanges, etc., that have a government license, right? So if your money or crypto got lost, you can sue them, right? You can go to them and ask for money in return. If you dabble on the Web3 world, the decentralized exchanges, yes, the asset is still yours, but if the project flew away, then you cannot anymore sue them.
You're an investor yourself, Brian, and maybe just a few on how you choose the projects that you invest in.
Well, for me, I feel like the normal rules of economics still apply here. So, if you see a crypto or a Web3 project that is solving a real world problem, that's probably a safe place to put your money. Or if you see a coin or the founders of a project working on a project that you know is going to have real world application, that's something that you can put your money behind. Another rule of thumb is if it's too good to be true, then it's probably too good to be true. So don't fall into that. It can be really tempting, but the past 2-3 years with Web3 growing exponentially, we've seen time and again these projects fail. So just be wary of those two things. Try not to be influenced too much about what your friends are saying or what your peers are saying. Do your own research. At the end of the day, will always be the best.
Okay, so for my last question, in 10 years' time, what do you think will NFT look like and its adoption? And then maybe your last few words. Paul?
Sure. So, in 10 years' time, as we're seeing the real world asset adoption that, we're currently seeing right now, land titles, digital identities, real world asset in a, in a way that your car can be an NFT already, maybe your bank account, etc. Your SIM number, your phone number can be an NFT to lock the address to you. So those kind of features of non-fungible token and other smart contracts that will be invented will stay not only in the next 10 years, but maybe 50 years. If you see the S-curve of NFT, it's still beginning, it's still on the innovator side of the S-curve, meaning it's not yet mass adoption. When you also look at Bitcoin, it's still on general adoption, not mass adoption, meaning people are really does know Bitcoin, but they don't know if if that's gonna be forever. But technically, they can buy, they can trade, and there's already a trust. So maybe in the next 10 years, we will be seeing a lot more normalized way of using digital asset with the government help to to regulate it, not really to stop it, but in the next 10 years, I think government will have really a law for us to be able to navigate on the real world asset use case of NFTs and blockchain in general.
For you, Brian, in 10 years' time, what do you think will NFT look like in the creative industry?
So, at least in the creative industry, we're still going to see a lot of, well, I don't know, in 10 years, a lot can happen. 1 year in terms of blockchain changes a lot. So, in 10 years, I'm not even sure we'll even still call it NFTs in 10 years. But what I do know for sure is that what we have right now are the building blocks of a new technology that will probably come out in 10 years. What will it look like in the creative industry? I think if it still exists, it will exist in a digital kind of sense. One is to one. You have your NFTs, which verify actual artwork or creatives. You have it in this scenario where there's a lot of intellectual property right debates. I feel like NFT technology will become more and more of an asset because it will be used to protect things like songs. It will be used to protect things like film, like pictures and other forms of art. At least that's the way I see it moving over the next 10 years. So it still has, in a weird, ironic way, we built blockchain technology so that we could deregulate to an extent. But it's actually becoming a regulatory asset because of its transparency and verification side. So
Just one thing, not a financial advice or not promoting anything. If you will look at Bitcoin, it's only 21 million Bitcoin in the world, right? It will never be 22 million because technically everything is programmed. Now, if you can see that, it's like real estate, right? People in the world are billions, right? But only 21 million can own Bitcoin, right? So see that perspective also of a digital asset, that you're like buying real estate and gold if you're holding Bitcoin, because it will never be 22, it will never be 23. It's just 21 million.
Thank you so much. You're on time, Olga. Thank you. And I hope you visit the website of Blockchain Council of the Philippines and be a member. Know more about what we're doing and government, partnering with the government and all of our projects. Thank you so much, Brian and Paul. Thank you so much.